The Humboldt County Jane Doe, identified as Kay Adams. This case begins as a Jane Doe in 1987. The San Francisco Sheriff's Office, an anonymous typewritten letter along with human bones. For whatever reason, the person who found them didn't want to be involved, but did the right thing by providing the location where the remains were found. Authorities were able to locate more remains near Ammon Ridge. In February of 1993, however, part of a skull would be found near Trinidad, California, washed ashore on the beach in February of 1993. At some point, her dental films were linked to her skull, and it appears that happened recently. It may have been after Othram Labs matched the skull's DNA to that of Kay's daughter, announcing Kay Adams once again had her name in May of 2025. So what we know is that Kay Adams Medlin, who most often went by her maiden name of Adams, had gone missing in 1987 when she was 48. Ms. Adams was a much-loved local teacher. She had been reported missing from Hyanpan, California. Kay's husband, Nicholas Medin, reported his wife missing. He would report he went on a business trip and returned home to find her gone. Her purse and all of her personal items were still in the home. They searched her property with no leads as to where she may be. Family who knew her appeared to believe she did not leave on purpose, especially with her purse left behind. More than 100 people from the area, mostly volunteer, and some search dogs, would search the surrounding area. However, there were no signs of Kay. And as the one article I found on this case states, the search would be called off. Her disappearance would be classified as suspicious, with no indications of where she went. I find it strange, and I think maybe there's more missing, because she was reported deceased with a death certificate rendered by the state in 1988. That was 1 year after she went missing. Maybe I'm under a misapprehension that they have to wait 7, but maybe that's not really the date on the certificate. It's possible that was just misstated. The timeline doesn't really make sense this way, and they couldn't have matched her dentals yet because her skull wasn't found till 1993. Although some of the timeline might be confusing, someone obviously did do something to her. We also don't know if she was disposed of in multiple places, or somehow her skull had traveled down the river. It's unclear how her skull entered the water. Their best guess is that an animal put it in the water where it washed ashore when it did, because they were found pretty far apart. This case is still open and they're waiting for information. Kay Adams went unidentified for 38 years. Had Kay lived a long, full life, she would be 93 years old today. The Camden, Delaware Jane Doe, 1997. Identified as Yvonne Hollister. Our story begins in July of 1997, and this is in Kent County, Delaware. It was here that a hiker was out enjoying his day in a neighborhood that is referred to as Camden, Wyoming. And that hiker on that day would discover skeletal remains. She was 5'6" or 168 centimeters and had brown hair. They were likely looking for a 40 to 60-year-old. They had some hair clips and an old black watch, but that isn't really anything to go on. They did what they could and provided a recreation, and her COD was ruled as due to foul play, the reason being blunt force T. Her body would reveal current as well as past injuries. She had a healed amputation that was reattached on her distal right ulna and radius, and these are of course bones located in your arm. She also had arthritis, and of course she was brutally. This is one of those cases where I can't tell you as much as I'd like, but it feels like she deserves some sort of recognition. A possible relative did come forward, and they were able to compare their DNA, and it was positive. So with very little fanfare, Yvonne Hollister's name was returned. Yvonne Hollister went unidentified for 27 years. Her date of birth was not given, but she was estimated to be 40 to 60, meaning that had her life not been stolen, she would be 67 to 87 years old today. The Lucas County Jane Doe, 1987, identified as Tammy Low. This case begins in Toledo, Ohio, on Tuesday, June 16, 1987. It was this day that in an alley behind an auto repair shop that was located on Collingswood Boulevard, a woman in her late teens to early 20s was found, and it was determined she'd passed a few days earlier. She had short, light brown hair that might have been a dark blonde with a red tint. She did have 5 piercings in each ear, and her teeth were in pretty bad condition, although they were able to say that she had little to no dental care based on decay. 4 molars had been extracted, and she had no fillings. It was quickly determined that she didn't pass in the alley where she was found. Instead, someone had wrapped her in a tweed carpet that was tanning color and a pool cover. They had doused the carpet in gasoline and torched it. They believed she had passed a few days earlier by that time. It was believed that her COD was an because I don't want to risk saying what kind on here. Let's just say it's a white substance that we often see portrayed on TV with a mirror and a straw. It looks like it may have been accidental. There are doubts to that based on what her sister will say later. But they would say it looked like an accident and the people with her just decided to protect themselves rather than do the right thing and reveal who she was. They attempted to cover up, and unfortunately it was a success. It would lead to decades of being known as a Jane Doe. The authorities did try to find her name, and they did do a recreation that you see here, but nobody ever came forward. Fully, the Porchlight Project in October of 2024 would take on the case and they would identify our Jane Doe. In March of 2025, Tammy Low once again had her name. Tammy was last seen the first week of June 1987. She had just turned 18 a few weeks earlier. Her sister would tell detectives that there was an incident that same month that she went missing. And her sister would report this happened just days before it would turn out Tammy had been found. Tammy had last been seen inside of a house with her younger sister, and this was near Detroit, Michigan. Detroit is around 50 miles or 80 kilometers from where she was found. That she was at a dealer's house with Tammy. And something scary went down that day, saying someone in the house was forcibly administering drugs to her. While Tammy's sister was able to escape, Tammy wasn't so lucky. I have no idea if that was reported immediately when she went missing. Based on the situation, I suspect not. But then again, the situation also was one where Tammy might not have been able to be reported missing. Because of her age and the situation, my guess is probably not. And while I can't say I agree with that, I understand it. She wasn't even a legal adult at the time. The police would say Tammy was never reported missing, but enough family remembers and knows that Tammy's grandmother went into the police station at least 2 different times reporting her missing. And the case was that Tammy had been living with her grandmother, as well as Tammy's younger brother. I don't know if the police refused to take a report or they just did not tell her it was officially being filed. My guess is Tammy was probably a high risk for just disappearing on her own, and that sometimes makes a huge difference. I've covered so many cases that family members try to make reports and they were refused. And I just always think about this because often it reflects on the family as if they didn't care. And it was a different time before we had the internet. And I imagine chasing people in other jurisdictions when there is no way to link them together really other than phone calls is difficult. A standard rule in a lot of jurisdictions would indicate that adults had a right to go missing and reports weren't filed unless proof of a crime happened. So it really depends on where and the situations, and perhaps whatever rules the police had at the time. So this is mostly a problem of that era, in my opinion, and not really any specific jurisdiction. It just bothers me when there's a statement that no reports were made, because that's not always true. There's just a lot of reasons why it looks that way. As far as Tammy goes, if anyone knows anything about this case, you can use the code on the screen for Crime Stoppers. Tammy Low was an unidentified Jane Doe for nearly 38 years, and she was found 50 miles or 80 kilometers from home. Had she lived, she would be 56 years old today.
Huge thanks for watching all the way to the end, and a big thanks to all of you who consistently like and comment on the videos. The whole dance with YouTube is hard sometimes. Whether you leave a full comment or an emoji, it makes a huge difference. It's a huge push toward the videos being suggested to new people. The next goal is 20,000. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other.